Villa for our third map.
Yes, indeed, my friend. I really wish they would have serrated it almost and then just allowed him to tear them off. Like a tactical timeout or something. But either way, we are going to be hopping into Villa here. And as John was just stating, this is a very big matchup, folks, here for the Game 3 slot of our last day on the NAL. Astralis versus OXG, both of them with a lot on the line. Astralis looking to go to their third major. Yes, 3 majors in 1 year. OXG looking to confirm their berth to 6 Invitational later on into next year. 2023, actually right around the corner, although it feels like still we just started 2022.
Yep, well, let's see, though, which fate will end up coming true. For Astralis, obviously, a lot more in the future in its immediacy. And if we're being real with ourselves, OXG should more than likely still end up qualifying for SI. Even if they don't end up closing down this match, they still have a possibility to do so just at a later point today as well. So they're not going to be at potential risk for not making it should they lose this match. Away from that, though, we're looking at the initial start, and it's actually potentially going to be a pretty interesting one coming in here for OXG. They're going to go for the dining room and kitchen hold first off. Normally, of course, we see teams trending over towards that second floor hold inside of AVG, but there has been some more mixed results. Specifically, I think, if memory served me correctly, for OXG on those sites. So maybe wanting to try something a little bit different here to start off.
Yes, indeed. And we'll just get this out of the way early on here, John. So we'll talk about the standings and why Astralis has gotten to this point where they can still make it to the major, even though the start of this stage wasn't exactly all that great. They're currently sitting at 5th right now with a 3-1-2-2 record. That means they lost some games inside of overtime as well as 1-1. They're +2 on the round differential, but they're at 13 points. Now, this is the big deal here because Mirage is at 15 points, which, I mean, if you know the basic math of how our league works, 3 points for a victory in regulation. So if Astralis closes this out, they will actually indeed be able to push past Mirage, grasping that 4th slot, resting at 16 points, and not a single other team in the league can touch them. And obviously for OXG, just SI points, and we have those over on Liquipedia if you'd like to look at those.
Getting into the round, though, OXG, obviously with a pretty spread out start here, since they're going to be down on that first floor hold, is going to actually leave the bedroom potential opening a little bit vulnerable, in my opinion, as the Astralis do have a pretty clean path to work their way into the master route. And then, of course, because they're going to be bringing the sledge, they'll be able to open up top-down angles and assumably get faster control of the site through that. So that step shouldn't be taking up too much of their time. However, what is going to take up a lot of the early seconds on the round here is going to be that additional drone time that they're going to need to use to figure out this kind of tricky play that OXG's going for. Very split up. That does mean that their individual members are not going to have a lot of support, so if any one of these players ends up getting cut off without returning damage, it will all be for naught at the end of the day, but still, a lot of distraction and very difficult to tear apart just because of the fact that players are not playing into the expected positions, and as you just saw there with Foxe, rapidly moving around the map, so the kind of shape of this puzzle is also changing every time they look at it.
Yes, indeed. We've had quite a few very solid matches on Villa throughout the stage thus far, and one of them was by Astralis. Not so much by Iconic, more or less a lot of Forest in that game, but the result practically the same. Astralis going to get the opening blood onto Vertical. They found at least a body for now. OXG still reeling on the top floor. Don't have to worry about too much. They'll be able to recreate some holes here and assist with this clear that Astralis has going down low.
Away from that, though, OXG not seeing any immediate counter-reaction to the loss of Vertical from the beginning of the round here. Still seeing at least 1 or 2 of those players maintaining their out-and-about positions because of the potential flank they could have against the take should Astralis continue to move forward with their current plan. Now that they have access to the living room, it looks like they are going to move forward with trying to get pantry control, and then they'll attempt to go for a vertical pinch from there. As you can tell, though, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to accomplish because they haven't completed the top clear. DP Fire now going down. I think that's Capcan Traps that brings him down as well. Thankfully, not going to be able to immediately finish that player off. DP Fire will have a teammate close enough to revive him and bring him back into the fold, but obviously a much lower HP.
Well, Astralis, not very many options any longer. They have EMPs and the ability to get the pantry wall open, but past that, it's going to be hard fought. Iconic finds Newers here, but Sweater's going to immediately refrag as he'll reclaim into Laundry. Dream is somehow going to stab J90 all in that process as well, as OXG is quickly pulling ahead, nipping at the heels of the offense. Astralis will go down to yet another EE1D shuttle to the flames as well. It's all down to the lone soul of Forest in Kitchen. It's a 1 versus 3. We've seen him do so much on Villa previously, but so far this round hasn't been able to do too much. I'm going to just call in some logic bombs as the EBR back out. He'll take the initial fight, and it's going to be Foxe to take him down. OXG with 1.
Force, no room to play that out. Massive props to Newers, by the way. He got a pretty much perfect record on the EDDs inside of that one. Got 2 kills over the course of the round with those downs. One of them ended up being a revive, of course, but still it's perfect placement on his utility. As both of the double sets, you're given 5 at the start of the round, so realistically you can kill 2 players, and he got 2 of them down, although one, of course, did get revived.
Yeah, Astralis really just sending it for the site there as well once they got that big pick onto Oxygen, but Oxygen with their top floor control were very easily able to reinforce into the site and make it to where it wasn't as clear-cut for Astralis. They weren't able to quickly get that kill and kind of hold control over the site, allowing more Astralis members to pour in and get that plant down. Rather, Oxygen was able to nip it in the bud very quickly because of the response time. So very well done from them, especially the play coming through the laundry hatch. That's something that Astralis could have prevented just by simply playing somebody outside of the door, but probably didn't really think that Oxygen were going to go for it so full bore like they did. So again, very, very solid play there from OXG, but a long road still ahead of them. It's only 1 round on the starting half here.
Let's see our qualification standards once again, folks, just in case you needed to refresh on them one final time. It's pretty straightforward for this game. Astralis wins, they go to the major. Otherwise, neither of these teams are heading to the major. If Oxygen wins, Oxygen will lock in SI points, of course, but aside from that, it will actually lock in, if memory serves me correctly, Mirage's ascent to the major instead, should Astralis end up losing this game. So they're very much preying on the they're very much preying on the downfall of Astralis right now. And unfortunately, it's just not happening. Newers goes for an aggressive play and gets caught red-handed in his attempt to do it. J90 will claim the first kill.
Doesn't even tag up J90 either. Likely thought somebody was already up on the balcony, but gets caught off guard by the repel player instead. Just an awkward angle you have to worry about whenever you do make an aggressive play like that. And even if you are as solid of a player as Newers, it can still catch you off guard. So Astralis are going to have the lead pick again, but that doesn't mean that they have the round. We already saw how round 1 went. Oxygen could have an answer for this, but it doesn't come just yet. DP Fire with the next kill here onto Vertical. Foxay on death's door, although more than likely doesn't know it just yet. Back and forth they go, both with actually the same exact gun, if you didn't know. EBR both in their hand. Forrest will begin rotating through that bottom level. Him and Foxay on a collision course here, inevitably, if he ends up moving out of this green pasture. So Astralis, at least with the opening bloods here. Oxygen not able to find a response just yet, but Foxay trying to sit out here on an island and see if he can find himself something to pull Oxygen back across the line.
So it has come to a bit of a stop for Astralis, and at the very same point, they ran into issues on their round 1 clear as well. Same as the round 1 clear, they've had very little issue establishing initial map presence and clearing out at least some of the stragglers from Oxygen, but Oxygen was able to surprise due to the lack of a second floor clear on the previous round, and ultimately crunch the play that Astralis attempted to make. Going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off the same feat this time, although the flank work can still come out, mainly from the Astra Stairs department, if those players are going to be left undisturbed. As you can see, Foxay over here by Mudroom, and I believe he has at least one other teammate somewhere in the area as well, but closer probably to the front stairs. But still, there is play potential here, as Astralis once again is focusing entirely on the horizontal play, not so much on the vertical.
Yeah, Astralis has been extremely patient past those first 2 picks. They haven't been trying to give Oxygen too many looks, but it's also allowed Foxay to circumnavigate the entirety of Astralis' lineup. I don't know if he's going to be able to sneak in behind them here and get some big kills, but that could be a round ender. We'll just have to see. Sweater's going to end up making himself some rotations as well as some verticality through the floor here to try and abuse anybody rotating at the bottom of the stairwell. Astralis with so many bodies trying to send it in towards the site. Sweater has an answer for that, though, after they're going to lose Dream. Back and forth we go inside of Plains. What a shot from Sweater to take down Shuttle, but that's not going to prevent the plant that's currently going down inside of the game's bar. A beautiful swing from Iconic will take down 1, and that's going to be all she wrote for round 2. AST tie things up.
Took us a while for Astralis to boost up the Rockets, but once they were able to get them into a good position, it did seem like a pretty straightforward closeout at the end of the day. Just took a little bit longer to figure out their intel base, get their drones into the interior of the site, and get a confident push rolling there, which is why we saw that massive gap in the middle of the round.
I'd say even though past that, a big thing with Siege is if they're going to give you those 2 big picks initially, just take your time.
Which is exactly what they did.
You have 2 minutes and 15 seconds at that moment. You might as well be patient, be cautious, hold angles, see if Oxygen is going to try and and do something to manipulate their position and possibly die because of that. They have to play aggressively to try and get this man count in check, because if they don't, they're going to lose the round. I mean, you saw how simple it was for Astralis to take that simply because they had more manpower, which is always something that you're looking for in Siege.
And Oxygen did have presence to potentially try and crunch that up, Foxay being the most notable of those, and that definitely caused some hesitation on the Astralis side of things. Unlike the first round, though, making that play from the bottom to the top is a lot more difficult than the other way around, so we did not see that crunch find anywhere near the degree of success it was ever really attempted. We didn't get to see Foxay towards the tail end of that round, so unsure where he ended up trying to play it once everything was said and done, but still much more limited potential to come out from him as he was not able to show face and actually put the fear into Astralis to make them give second thoughts to their attack.
Yeah, a very serious build-up for his own game, just for it to kind of fizzle out.
Yeah, I mean, like, he didn't really do anything for Mudroom.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked for opportunities, don't get me wrong. Like, we've seen him peeking out the window every once in a while and looking for rotation plays. Just nothing realistic was presented to him, so.
Astralis also, for their flanks, where they were established, right, had some very solid holds going on as well. And even past that, since they did lose at least an initial person, or actually, rather, they didn't even. So they still had everyone locking down staircases and everything else. So you really didn't even have to have, you know, a permanent drone watcher there while everybody else gets their jobs done. You can just have somebody babysit stuff, which is even better for that situation. So, but either way, we're into round 3 now here. Astralis and Oxygen tied up 1-1. Foxay is going to make things a little worse for wear, though, as Iconic will go down. He's been feeling himself through these first 2 rounds, but he's not going to be feeling a lot because he doesn't have a pulse at the current moment.
That's the play from Foxay we were expecting to be made in the previous round there, down towards Mud. Just never really got the opportunity to do so. This time, it walks right towards his face as he takes full control, knocks out Iconic, and now leaves Vertical. Trying to pick up some more of the slack downstairs, or rather upstairs inside of AVG. Foxay, though, may very well be priming himself for a second pick, and he's going to find it at the cost of his teammate, though. Vertical does get traded closer to off. The shuttle also finds another pickup against Sweater. That suddenly left Foxay on an island where even he might not be able to escape, but he gets it done regardless until he's finally shut down by J9O in the exchange for his last kill.
Land Fox is back? Question mark. We'll have to see here. Some big kills coming from him there. I love the decision making for the aggressive peek on main stairs as well. Some very solid stuff, but Oxygen somehow still whittled down to a 2 versus 2. Oh, a slap from J9O. A triple for him. Almost a quad kill. Newers, he'll get tagged up quite a bit. Oh! He'll let the MPX sing. Doesn't even flinch. Knows how solid a shot that was. Foxay, even at a loss for words there for a moment. Foxay walked so that Newers could run for round 3. Oxygen up 2-1.
Pretty much, yeah. OXG just playing their trades as appropriately as they could. Foxay definitely getting the gold star for that initial pickoff because that ignites the play capability from the rest of Oxygen that allows them to win out the round, where they just take a bunch of detached 1v1s and quite literally trade their way towards a win there, as we saw Noors finally pick up another 2K at the tail end of the round.
Yeah, Astralis have backed this animal into a corner in this round, right? They're trying to play pretty aggressively and do what they do best, but, I mean, this dog has fangs, John, and it bites back. Oxygen very quickly answering, especially for Fox's sake, as he basically dealt with the brute force of Astralis through study as well as downstairs, all single-handedly. They had to chase him from study balcony down the main damn stairs, man. That is some crazy stuff. You don't see that every day.
Astralis will more than likely have to put priority on controlling this extended game to some extent, as we are returning back to the very same grounds where Oxygen also closed down on their initial round. Back on round 1, mainly because, again, of the unmitigated upstairs holds that were causing problems on top of the interior site clear that Astralis was struggling with. Now, the opening clear, we're not expecting too many struggles there. Astralis have shown good examples of being able to manage that, but as of the last round, that slowed down a little bit, so you can expect a little bit of trepidation from the rest of Astralis as well. We're trying to clear things out here, especially considering the prominence that extended game has had over the past 2 rounds now from Oxygen.
Okay, so Astralis, so what is our answer here? It's round 4, halfway through their first side, and not only that, but it's offensive side of Villa. This map, pretty well cut down the middle in comparison to a lot of the maps that we have in the pool right now. I believe it's 46% on the offensive side and 53%, relatively speaking, on the defensive end. So obviously Oxygen should just by proxy be ahead here, but it's still very close fought. Every one of these rounds thus far, minus the last one where we saw Foxay kind of take a hold of things, but even then it still boils down to a 2 versus 2. So Vertical has somebody inside of his bathroom trying to get him to motion. He knows that he's here as well, ready for the aim duel, but is he prepared for the onslaught that's directly next door. Forrest will finally pop through mud and take him down, and that's going to be Astralis 3 for 3 on their entries.
So you can tell what the priority is now here from Astralis, definitely wanting to try and make sure that this game does not become a problem for them on the extension as we get towards the tail end of these executes. They'll be peeled back. Players on Oxygen are going to look to try and control themselves a little bit better here as well. And that leaves Astralis with a bit of a lack for options at this point. They've been able to clear things out for the most part on the upstairs partition, but we still have that Oryx lurking around from Sweater, and it's going to be hard to predict when and where he will pop up here. But Astralis starting to line themselves up outside of Pantry, and a few of the other execution points does look like once again they're going to drift towards working towards the execution sooner rather than later, while we still have a few threats just on the outside from Oxygen.
And you can see how worried Astralis are about Oxygen's flanks. Even when they were in that massive difference in their man count, they were still really worried about what Foxay's potential was. And even with this pick, it's more of the same, trying to manage the stairwells around the map and make sure that Oxygen can't find an answer, and rather the shoe on the other foot. Astralis will surge forward, foot on the accelerator, RPMs high, access to all that horsepower, but
nice.
Dream will take down DP Fire. He'll charge forward. Everyone's asleep on Astralis, but Forrest has the plant down. Foxay's found space. He's dead to the world. Dream somehow still managing to stay alive around Tetris. He has Sweater here as well. Dream, he's going to go on the chase. They know he's here, though. Fantastic audio awareness from J90. It's all down to Sweater here. Has to try and clutch up. He's going to try and fake things out on the case here. They have the verticality. So much work for him to do. He can't get the crucial shots, though. He tries to dash out, finds some space over here in China. But this round, more than likely going to Astralis. So many angles for him to worry about in minimal time. He'll finally go down to the axe of J90, and we'll tie things up.
And so Astralis bring things back under their own control after struggling again at the previous round. They're able to quickly fix their issues and once again solve that problem. There's a little bit of a potential issue that we're maybe going to see come forth in the next 2 rounds. The fact that it did take them a while to get the justification to actually move into the site. As Stokes mentioned, they were very worried about the potential flanks that could come down to haunt them, but thankfully they were able to figure things out with about a minute and excess and establish more than appropriate overwatch to make sure that the players that were going to the interior of the site would not get messed with by those flanks. And as such, we see a pretty successful execute go off. Obviously, Dream caused some problems in the midst of that. I think there was an informational gap that led to that chain of events, but thankfully, he did not have the best support. So once Astralis had dealt with him, there was no further threat.
Yeah, for having a sleeveless coach standing behind them, they're pretty controlled about all of these situations thus far. We're not seeing anything, no caution to the wind or anything like that. I would say maybe a little bit in the early round, with that round specifically that we saw Foxay get a lot of kills over on Study, but past that, Astralis have been very cool, calm, and collected in their assault onto Oxygen's defenses. Oxygen, though, have done a pretty bang-up job themselves, especially in the fight department, doing such a good job of taking these proper duels and making sure to at least keep things reasonable for their defensive setup. And it's led us to this point. These last 2 rounds are going to be extremely crucial for both sides, and it all starts here at AVG.
All right, well, Oxygen back into a very extended position once again. You'll note there's actually no one playing the interior of the site at this moment. It's going to change in a minute, as I believe Newers is beginning to rotate back to play to the inside of Gun Vaults. They won't actually leave it fully exposed. So we need to set things up a little bit more, and apparently Vertical still setting things up a little bit over there as he places down one final barricade towards the tail end of the free seconds they would have for themselves. Astralis now need to work to the inside of it themselves. We'll begin to see them working on that process already, seeing at least one piece of intel being gathered out downstairs on the first floor as they've sent the Yana clone in. Aside from that, though, it is still all about building up the drone informational base, as they do not want to trifle with Foxay's games, or potentially another member of Auction if they decided to play things out once again, just like a few rounds back. Concern that's been dealt with for the most part, though, so I don't imagine there's any true fears lurking in the Auction comms, or rather the Astralis comms right now, as they begin to get themselves ready to work into Study here.
The key thing is, right, is that they got so many nades, so much utility to try and cut through all of the stuff that Auction has set up. So it's going to be some time. We're going to see really what Astralis' brain is considering throughout this, right? You can see them setting things up for a hop out down low so that Ace can support himself for a 90 window, and they can eventually get Gun Vault open. They're also worried about main stairs. This is a hot commodity a lot of the times when it comes to this site, and something that we see Flores try and deal with a majority of the time, but it's quite difficult, especially when you have a team as solid as Oxygen managing these doorways and making it where those Rotero drones cannot work their way in properly. But Astralis have found the counter. It's going to be a full-on bore rush up the main stairs, and they'll take out 2 because of it.
As a result, once again, Oxygen going to be left at a disadvantageous scenario. They do still have the primary amount of their anchors alive and well, mostly full HP as well. So certainly playable at the end of the day, just difficult as it's a situation they've already put themselves in multiple times in just this half alone, though. Oxygen is not going to give up without a true fight here. And Astralis knows that, so they're going to take the excess time they do have remaining. Once again, trying to build up the info base. You say that, but you don't actually have a whole lot of droning going on over on the Astralis. You can look at the left side and see that right now. No one on it, just kind of keeping their angles established in the event that someone from Oxygen tries to make a play, but it's not going to end up happening. Now the drones begin to move forward. Finally finds out the position of vertical, forces him a little bit further back onto the red stairs, and does open up for the rappel swing for the player on 90. Full hallway control now over towards Astralis.
Oh my God!
No respect coming in from Astralis, though. They just forced the issue directly through the door into the site and are able to close out on the trades.
No respect for Oxygen, but I'm pretty sure everyone has respect for Iconic with that play. My God, the balls on this man. He climbs on top of the game's bar to get the angle on the Azami, throwing caution into the wind. Just like we said earlier, I don't think Astralis is going to do anything too crazy. And then this execute comes through. Huge plays onto main stairs, backed up by Astralis' onslaught onto the actual physical site. Oxygen can do nothing about it. Blown away with the wind. Now Astralis will take the lead for the very first time here.
One final opportunity for Oxygen to try and take an advantage out of this scenario here. Could at least tie us up at 3-3, but it's going to be over in trophy and statuary. We have been able to see them find success earlier on inside of this half. Meanwhile, for the Astralis camp, we are going to see a few small adjustments, mainly just Iconic going back over to the Twitch for the comfort pick, especially considering we're going to be upstairs. Now, don't have a whole lot of use for the Buck, never mind the Sledge as well, though the Sledge can certainly still find some use on this attack, especially once they begin to work their way into this part of the map right here, towards Walk-In, and a few other spots aside from that as well. No surprises, though, in the attacking lineup and the defensive lineup as well, similar to what we've already seen throughout this half from Oxygen.
And just like Oxygen is sticking to their guns, Astralis will as well. J90 sticking to the Finka. Iconic will be switching things up back to the Twitch that we'd seen him on previously. And what a show it is whenever Iconic does have the F2 in his hands. But we haven't even mentioned like the likes of DP Fire and what he's been doing. Same as J90. It's been a huge game for Alf. Oh, Newers. He's going to want that one back. Shuttle from downrange. The first bullet out of the L85 meets his skull. And Newers now down for the count. Oxygen doing their damnedest to try and bring this back as well. That's Sweater challenging with an SMG-11, folks. That's a lot of confidence.
Oxygen already going to be down a player again at the beginning of the round. A fate they've dealt with, like I said, at the middle point of the last round, though. So
majority of these rounds. I think they only had one kill as an opening.
I want to say we're like,
I think Astralis has technically gotten all 5. I'm not going to lie to you.
I want to say we're like 5-1 on opening kills right now in favor of Astralis. So, like I said, something that Oxygen's definitely used to dealing with, but that doesn't necessarily mean they found the correct solution to that. As far as Storm's in, DP Fire does as well. The entire extended AVG setup falls to pieces yet again. Sweater going to try to be the saving grace here as he does find at least one exchange from the top of the red stairs. Potentially risking his own life, though, continuing to take that fight as you see a third of his HP clipped off. So he finally backs away, goes to the depths of the site, as will Dream now, playing over by the trophy connector. They will simply wait for the rest of the push to come in from Astralis, it looks like.
It was an immaculate misconception from Oxygen there, John. Astralis with everyone on this one side of the map. Astralis thinks, or rather Oxygen thinks, that they can just slink off into the night without being punished, just delaying some time and making their way back towards their actual site. But Astralis has every exit locked down. Makes it so difficult for Oxygen to try and skimper on by, and they lose bodies because of it. But at least able to get one because of Dream's efforts. So Oxygen still with a chance here, able to win things out and tie things up 3-3.
Nitro is going to end up being chucked away here by Sweater. Not to a whole lot of success ultimately. And as Oxygen simply sit back and wait. They have been able to make this a little bit more winnable due to the pickup from Dream after he ventured out from the connector a few moments prior. And that's definitely causing the same level of hesitation we've been seeing from Astralis. Even when they've been executing into these like 5v3s that we've seen on a few of these past rounds here, it's a very similar scenario in terms of number count right now. So Astralis is going to be taking a step back, definitely emphasizing again their intel game here to try to see if they can find out, if at all possible, where Sweater and Dream are going to be playing from. More importantly, as you're seeing, also repositioning 2 of their players so they can pinch this out a little bit more appropriately. Coming in, of course, from the top of Red Landing, as well as assumably Master, although J90 gets a little bit scared. Here's something, thankfully, it's the right thing as he shuts down at least one, but Sweater is not giving up the fight just yet. Tries to finish off the 1v1 with a shotty, but now heads for the hills instead. The Shuttle may have very well missed that transition. This is a big moment for him to see if he's going to be able to read into that intel appropriately. Plant will go down in a relatively safe position. So now more than likely has noted that fall off. Sweater will also not have the capability to play this because of the plant position that it's gone down in. So Sweater as well needs to reignite himself. Potential cross right there through the breach, but Shuttle has established himself for it. Will he be expecting the crouch play? No, he won't. It's a quad from Sweater to save the half for Oxygen as they tie it up 3-3 instead.
Give it to the man. Sign the contract, John. Everybody was doubting Sweater at the start of the stage, but Oxygen showing everyone exactly why they thought this roster would work out. Give the man a badge. Let me tell you, looking pretty solid thus far. Oxygen going to tie things up 3-3 off the back of a quad kill out of Sweater. When they needed him most, when the bat signal was in the sky, John, he responded, was able to get as many kills as he could potentially muster, which just happened to be almost all of Astralis. And what a half we've had. Astralis now going to have to switch gears on over to defense, and we'll have to see what both of these respective sides think about this. Thus far, though, I'd say it's been a pretty even matchup, although Astralis very dominant in the opener.
Not the end of the world for Astralis to lose that final round and, of course, go into the second half at a 3-3 scoreline. This map does, in this stage at least, trend itself to be a little bit more defender-sided, so assumably that we play into that statistic, Astralis should be able to bounce back here, take control. Assuming, of course, they want that major spot, as they need to win this game out one way or another. Overtime does not matter in this specific situation. They just need to win it one way or another, and they will be going to the major. If not, Mirage, waiting on the sidelines after their game a little bit earlier on today, will instead be heading to the major.
Yeah, and that's all due to Mirage's round differential, actually, because Mirage ended up on a 0 for their round differential, whereas Astralis, before this match started, was at +2. So even if it does go to overtime, they win by 1, they're still +3 on the round differential, and they'll end up going because they are tied in points. So for Mirage, they're really banking on the fact that Oxygen win this. They're probably Oxygen's biggest cheerleaders right now in Vegas.
All right, well, let's see if Oxygen can get the job done. Like I said, halfway there now after tying things up at a 3-3 scoreline. Just need to win the majority of this half, and things will be looking a little bit better, but Shuttle gets Astralis off to a booming start. Begin this half instead, taking down Newers and eliminating the Yana from contention, so taking quite a bit of intel away from the attack. Shouldn't be round-breaking though as far as Oxygen's intel game is concerned. They still have the Twitch drones on top of course, 5 normal drones that can be sent out, so should be able to work with that without an issue, but they are going to be missing their potential entry.
Now, Oxygen pretty quick to Pantry. Force is going to take down Vertical, and that was the player inside of Pantry. So it doesn't seem like Oxygen was exactly prepared for them to be there just yet. Fox 8 trying to make the most of the situation. He was going to come in from the mud side while they were obviously distracted, but now there's really not much going on around the map. Force is going to take some heat, actually, so I'm actually going to take those words back. Apparently we had Sweater on an angle. He'll take down Forrest, and this is going to open things up just a little bit wider for Fox. It's on the patience game for him. These decisions going to be extremely big. Shuttle's going to take down Sweater now, though, but this will give some info over to Fox 8.
Whoa.
He's gotten one. He knows the other one's in the area, in the vicinity, but he'll take down Shuttle either way. Astralis still making it out up a man.
J-Nano pretty smartly, in my opinion, does back up, looks for a counter reaction to his position now that he had been spotted out instead of trying to go back in and immediately retake the fight versus Fox A right there. They still have the player advantage, and of course, he would have given out the comms as to Fox A's position, so there was still one more player in Tarps that could overwatch for Fox A instead. Nice play here from J-Nano to kind of stabilize things for Astralis. We'll see if it pays out, though. This is where it gets a bit precarious. Fox A has fully backed up, gone all the way over towards the front entrance and around those stairs to be able to make it to this current position. Oh, where they just fully have the read on him, unfortunately. J-Nano swings with a teammate detached from him. They knock him down, leaving only Dream in the fight now for a 1v3. Fortunately, not going to stand a chance inside. So wait and see here. This early tactical pause obviously going to give Oxygen a moment to think for themselves how they need to fix their approach after round number 1, but at the same time, Astralis were not even really that deep into their defensive side yet, so curious as to how much Oxygen was actually able to glean from just that one round.
Loving the options that we're seeing here from Oxygen. Vertical, he was thinking about the Nomad, going to switch it on over to Jackal, and the reason that Oxygen would want this over the Nomad is simply because a lot of these kills that Astralis have been going for have been very early on in the round. They just need to be aware of their spawn peaks and then get a foothold on the map. And if they're able to just get that tiny, tiny little grasp, they're more than likely going to have info for free because of it. Air jabs are fantastic because you can just set them and forget them on flank, but a lot of the times, especially nowadays with roamers, they usually have impacts, John. And it's very annoying when you're running stuff like air jabs because it's very simplistic for them to be able to break down. So you'd much rather just cover that off with a drone and then just use something like Jackal to really force the roam game back, because otherwise they're more than likely going to get sussed out by that Inox.
All right, well, we are well into the round now.
I didn't even notice, but Newer's also switched on over to Lion, so, and they also have the Doke, so, I mean, 3 for 3 on the ops.
This is just a very annoying comp to play against if you're Astralis, and especially Astralis given the way you played things out in round 7 as well, because Astralis has been very active in wanting a peak, winning those peak angles, the EE1D constantly going off alongside the phone calls, and maybe at least 1 or 2 people getting their feet scanned every few seconds as well. It's going to make it quite difficult for you to do anything aggressive on the defense here, which I think is exactly the goal from Oxygen with this setup. So far, it's going to work quite well. We've got Vertical sneaking up as well. Goes completely unnoticed. Just snipes out Forrest, but he fails to account for Shuttle, sitting just 1 further flight ahead of him on the stairs there. So takes him down. Sweater will be able to finish off Iconic, but we had seen him get down a moment ago. More than likely a nade or some other stray explosive that takes him down. DP Fire, though, with a snipe and a half on the SMG-11. Just destroys Sweater and re-evens out our player count. We may not stay that way for very long, though, as Jano has got some heat on him, but he's ready for the challenge on the Azami. Both those Kiba barricades go out and allow for a free reposition for him.
What an incredible operator. You can see why she's been banned so often this stage, because those moments where with any other character in the game, John, you'd be dead to rights. She's able to quickly skirt around that because of her kunai, slap those Kiba barriers up, and vacate the premises. Oxygen have been boxed out in a certain sense of the term. Unable to really find another area to entry from on the actual main area. They've gotten down low, but that doesn't really account for much when all of Astralis is begging for them to push towards the site.
Oxygen falling behind a little bit here now, more so in time than anything else, but thankfully, given the position of at least some of their players, shouldn't be a make or break issue. Dream has the angle here to at least 1 member of Astralis trying to flank from the main stairs. The big question right now, though, where is the rest of Oxygen? Obviously, we got the answer for Newers and, of course, Dream, as we were just on his POV. Foxe, I'm going to assume, is playing with Newers right now, but we'll more than likely see him in a moment here. Dream has actually had to fall back, establish just a rappel position away from Study, and now finally, Foxe is going to end up regrouping with Newers as the team has less than 30 seconds left now to make their attack.
This is a huge issue for Oxygen, mostly because they have to have Dream manage the window over on Study. So if Fox or Newers dies here, this more than likely doesn't go down. It's really up to Oxygen to have the perfect cover for this situation. They're going to try and rotate off. What a smart play from Oxygen, forcing Astralis to think that it's going to be into the vault side, but now they overwhelm the setup, and they've got the plant going down. DP Fire doesn't have a counter to this either. He's smoke, no mute, doesn't have a nitro cell, but he's got a down onto Newers. Doesn't have any more smoke nades, though. It's doable. SMG-11, one of the best guns to ever grace Rainbow Six Siege, and it's in the hands of an incredible player. DP Fire will take down Dream. It's a triple kill. John Astralis trying to go up 5-3. It's up to Foxe, one of the most long-standing players of Oxygen, to try and put them back into the good graces of this offense, and he'll get it done. Oxygen shut it down before it can get too big of a flame.
Messy execute stage right there, really, for both teams coming into it. We saw Astralis kind of overplay their hand a little bit inside of the 3v3, tried to extend a third player downstairs, thinking that the 2 Insight players would have been able to win at least 1 fight each to bring it down to a 3v1, where that crunch would have shut things down. Unfortunately, that ends up costing them the entire site, as they don't have enough players on it to fend off things when the initial entry is successful from Newers. Past that point, obviously, a little bit of a blunder allowing that last player on Astralis to actually get back into the site for the first place. Thought we would have seen an absolute lockdown, but thankfully Foxe, ready for the challenge, still clutches it out when it comes down to the final 1v1.
Yeah, back and forth we go on that round, right? I mean, truly incredible stuff. I love the decision from Oxygen on their execution, though, because everything that they were doing was building up towards that plane side execute where we're going to see them go for Vault Door. But just given the circumstances of how Astralis was set up, it'd be very difficult for them to try and do that and try and wedge themselves in without something going critically wrong with, you know, the Overwatch on that type of a deal. So instead, they immediately throw it to the other side as fast as they can. They catch Astralis Astralis completely off guard, overwhelming the player on the games bar, and then they're able to take control of the entire site because of it. I mean, truly incredible recognition from Oxygen coming out and knowing that they had to try and make a play there. Don't just go for something plain Jane, and it pays off.
We're going to see a bit of a quick storm coming over towards Pantry from Oxygen. They bring an interesting operator lineup too. The Lion making a return, of course, but we get a Thatcher in for Sweater alongside, of course, the Osa being played by Vert 2. Forrest immediately comes under contention because of this quick clear. Loses the barricade on the upstairs window too. He's going to try to impact out the Selma. First charge still ends up going out, but he should have been able to mitigate the seconds. Just creates a slight gap. Oh no, he actually got both. Nicely done. Got up before the first one went off, so very well done there. At least eats up 1/3 of the hard breach utility from the attackers, and doesn't look like he was chased too heavily on his retreat into the basement as well. So there's a drone, keep an overwatch for him in the event he decides to come back, but still should have been able to make it out of there without too much of a problem. And as long as he stays away from there, he'll make it to a later point this round to fight it out still.
Yeah, well, the good news is that they really only need one Selma for this site, and it's specifically for Pantry. So as long as they can guarantee that gets open at a later date, that's really all they have to worry about. Majority of the other walls are soft that they have to try and go for, although it wasn't exactly a big thing, at least, you know, a year ago, but as we've seen Villa progress through time, a lot of people really enjoying playing the walls down low for Laundry soft rather than hard, just so they can try and influence any players rotating in there. Dream is going to get gunned down, though, and that's going to make it to where they can't open Pantry any longer. So Sweater's going to have to try and play inside of this room instead of what he could have done normally, which was outside on the actual balcony from that window. So they'll definitely be aware of this, as obviously Sweater is making a lot of noise getting this door open, but obviously there's still 3 other players to try and worry about. One of them's Vertical, who was trying to move in through Laundry, but second guesses it. Rotate back off before Oxygen try and go for their mastermind plan.
The plan is struggling here from Oxygen, mainly with respect to where they put these OSAs down. Now, I assume what the plan was going to be after they breached out Pantry was going to be have someone play the angle from the outside of Pantry window and then establish the OSA barricades to allow the plant to go down. There's not a similar-ish angle that they can really deploy that towards, except for maybe the walk-in from Laundry, and even that is going to come with a lot of risk just due to the fact that you won't be able to support it as well as I think Oxygen at least would like here, so they are struggling to come up with a winning option. Although, of course, now trading things out onto J9. But Newers as well, caught by the Frost Trap here. Thankfully, will be brought back, but obviously he'll be at limited HP, and now they are down another player due to Forrest's most recent pickup.
Welcome, Mats. Best against bronzes and professional players. That's real. I'm not even lying. It's a bell curve. DP Fire, though. Speaking of professional players, will get gunned down. Oxygen, Troop, or rather Newers, triple kill for him. A little bit of a combination of words there, but Newers always making me lose my words when it comes to his ability, and he's going to have quite that in order to lock this down. Forrest has it, but he knows that Vertical has to make a move here. Soft breach, close, pistol, my God. Wow, what a round that was to close out. Yeah, very awkward there, John. That's why I was just letting it play out, because I literally did not have words for the decisions that we were about to see. I didn't know if it was going to go right, left, in between, upside down, corkscrew. That's really what we got there. I mean, that was an ill-cam shot if I've ever seen one. Wow, Oxygen able to get that off the back of, I mean, missed pistol shots.
Yeah, I mean, like the last round, just a little bit scrappy at the end of the day on the execute there. We see members of Oxygen getting away with a heck of a lot more, in my opinion, than they should have gotten away with, given how desperate their overall strategy position was, approaching the actual site in those final seconds. But as we see there, that last attempted pistol play coming in just does not lead to success, so Oxygen is able to make that round work after everything is said and done.
The thing that threw me off the most was Newers taking all of that damage and then still just being in, like, sentry mode. Everybody that entered the room, he just guns them down immediately. I'm like, this guy is 1 HP, and he's not dead. So, I mean, either way, what an effort from Newers there. A quad kill on the round, single-handedly shutting down Astralis, and this is what we've seen out of a lot of the very solid Oxygen rounds, is that one of these players is able to step up to the plate and knock a home run out. And we're not talking about like a small, like, single-run play. We're talking about multi-run plays here, like 3 runs every single time. So, fantastic stuff across the board from OXG.
I mean, just in this game, we had Sweater with the 1v4 a few rounds back, and now we've got Newers picking up what essentially basically turned into a near 1v4 for him as well, as he had to do most of the heavy lifting there just to set his other teammate up for the final 1v1.
Some Foxy with some big kills as well, and Dream on top of that also with some big rounds as well. Vertical's really been the quiet member for Oxygen throughout this. So.
Not like to any like hugely contrasting degree. Like he's behind a little bit on the kills right now, but it's not like by any huge factor as well. Just hasn't really had an opportunity. There hasn't been any situation he's been presented with. So it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that you have to remember in a game where there is no respawns is that there's actually only a certain amount of kills to go around. There's a finite amount, John, if you know anything about the economy, right? So looks like there's going to be a little bit of a shortage for him in that regard, but not going to mean all that much. What a setup Astralis has going here inside of the closet. Sweater gets completely caught off guard. I love that swing. They were just pissed off that he was doing it, John. They're like, get this stupid stuff out of my window. I want this wall. And he's like, well, I have an FMG9. Would you want that instead? And, well, that's what they're going to receive. Astralis will be able to at least take down Sweater. They are getting boxed out of this master area of the map, John. Foxay goes down. That's the Kandalas out the window. They have no means to try and get in. No means of production, minus the EE1D.
And a new element was just added to the walk-in play as well. Originally just expecting Iconic to be having that.
Vertical, your timing.
Established here. Vertical as well. Not going to be able to find this pick in the way that he would have wanted to now. Does have a potential clean hop if he wants to risk it here, and indeed he will. Goes forward. Iconic's going to be able to hear that, though, and Iconic will not be ready for the direct play from Vert. Vert has a window open forward. DP Fire, they're immediately trading that back out. Shuttle not able to win his fight on the inside of Master Bat. So Noors and Vertical making a small amount of impact, but an impact that keeps this team very much in the round, and in this case, in the game as well. Just need to try and find a plant opportunity is going to be the big issue here now.
This is psychotic, what we are witnessing right now. Vertical with a big kill at a DP Fire. Predicts the corner for Concrete. Vertical and Noors both on very low HP, but Forrest, he's practically 1 foot in the grave. J9O, the biggest respectable player here, is he's got max HP and a lot of wit on those shoulders. It's going to take more than that, more than likely, to close this down. Oxygen have been baring their teeth this entire game. They're looking to do it even more with this OSA setup. This should be the plant here from Vertical. There is no prevention from Astralis. They have to do it with the guns. Forrest moves forward. He's got the play. Oh my God, Forrest!
I love it.
He gets away with it again, this absolute maniac. I swear, every single time that we go to Forest, we see magic happen. Fofo-san XD does it again.
And he makes that play with that amount of confidence with like 20 HP as well. Crazy stuff from Forrest that are
Dude, he puts it all on the table.
Knowing full well that the second he peeks that doorway, he could have instantly been dead.
Yeah.
They may have not even been able to see anything in the process. Makes the play anyway, just cuts the head clean off his other opponent, and then engages in a short game of chicken with Vertical on the other side of that barricade there. Beautifully done to put Astralis right back on the right foot forward here and tie us up again at 5-all.
I still cannot believe that at one moment in time, I like seriously thought that Fofo was trolling whenever he played games. Like back in like the E-United days and just like watching some of the T2 stuff, I was like, I don't know, man. I've always been a big fan of Forrest, always loved playing with the guy, but I don't know if he's going to be able to really find success here. And boy, has he shut me up since that day, let me tell you. I mean, I never obviously said any of that. That was more of just like a thought inside my brain, but I'm never going to think those thoughts ever again, am I? So the guy, just pure magic. Pure bliss whenever you get to watch Forrest do what he does best, which is killing opponents in the most frivolous ways you've ever seen in your life for a game of Rainbow Six Siege.
Big changeup has been called to Oxygen's attacking lineup. Once again, you can see it there on the right. 3 out of 5 operators have been changed up, mainly to bring more intel into the fold here. Dream, of course, bringing the Dokkaebi. Vertical now as well. Excuse me, going for the Jackal. And then finally we see just the usual pick of a Yana being picked up by Noors there. Obviously just more of a comfort pick for him, as I think he was on the Twitch as of last round. So we've been seeing those front-running players switch between those two operators quite commonly. So it's more so, of course, on our intel operators, where things will potentially change up. And Astralis will find their early round aggressive tendencies potentially limited a bit more by that utility.
Yes, indeed, and that's really what the objective of Oxygen's offensive lineups have been, is to try and slow down Astralis, make it to where they can't just immediately dagger them when they get in the building. They don't want to be losing some of these very key components of their operator lineup, and that's the thing about Siege is, yeah, you might just lose one body, and it might not seem like the biggest thing in the world, but depending on what operator it is, it could mean the most. I mean, just looking at this lineup right now, right, you'd really want to be able to keep things like Dokkaebi or Jackal. You lose either of those, you lose a lot of info game that you once had access to. So Oxygen always trying to play this close to the chest. It's really just been Astralis that's been able to slip through the cracks, even given the utility standpoint that we've seen out of OXG.
OXG taking a very, very slow approach here on round number 11 as well.
They want to avoid Fofo-san at all costs.
Pretty much, and they want to avoid any early round shenanigans. And unfortunately, it's been the setup for Oxygen for most of these rounds so far is them losing one, if not more, players in the opening action, and then just, for the most part, having struggles recovering that. Obviously, things have been a little bit brighter on a few other rounds, but that has been the tail of the tape for most of the first minute or so, especially in the first half of a lot of these rounds here. Foxy, of course, now still on that outside rappel for the window, waiting for a chance for him to strike. Now, of course, Astralis are going to be hearing this. They trawled 2 players out from their trophy statuary setup to kind of get ready for this. If there is going to be a hallway play, but that could very easily change up still. Auction does not look like they are committed to anything yet, but that's going to change now as we enter the final minute. Sweater looks like he wants to push himself to the inside of Study. Realistically, though, he can't. Looking at it, there's coverage on the doorway. There's coverage coming from the top main stair as well. He needs someone else besides him to push us, in my opinion, if he wants any hope of success on that play.
45 seconds to go on an AVG attack for Oxygen. They've set themselves up around the study balcony. That's where we saw Sweater moments ago. I don't know if he's going to be the one dedicated to the window or not to watch on main stairs, but we'll just have to see. But the rest of Oxygen, they're still over inside of the master area, and not only that, but they still have to worry about Iconic, who's just been tracked by Vertical in this space. Force is going to be able to potentially find one on red stairs, but Newers will actually end up winning out the fight. The G36C always paying out dividends for Newers, and it's going to get 2 big kills. Oxygen have got to get on the throttle now, though, as there's only 10 seconds remaining. Vertical will go down. Where's this case? It's on Dream. The plant started. 2 big kills for Astralis. Shuttle dies trying to rotate through main, and it's all left up to Iconic, who gets gunned down by Newers. He's found himself in some very key moments in this game. Another big triple for him on this round.
Very efficient take from Oxygen overall. Very, very clean throughout the entire course.
Right? So, I mean, for Oxygen there, it was just very, very solid game planning throughout the majority of that round to not only ISO out Iconic and take him out because of that Jackal info, but also to have Newers make that bombastic entry onto red stairs, get that big kill, and start the domino effect of the Astralis defense.
All right, well, Oxygen has the honor here. They have made it up to 6 points first, so only one opportunity to do so.
We had a little good social media poll there.
Oh,
it was which one was more hungry for the win today, and was it Newers or Iconic? And honestly, I'd say that you could say both. If there was somebody that had to be more hungry in this current situation, given the circumstances, you know it's got to be Iconic. They are on the door of forcing us to overtime and still having a chance to go to a major event. If they lose this round, John, it's all over. Mirage will be going for the very first time ever, actually, in the history of the organization.
So let's see if Astralis can bring things back under their own control now. Like we had mentioned before, if they manage to take this to an outright win, even inside of overtime, it will still be enough. The loss in overtime will not, just to clarify that as well. So Astralis does still need to find an outright victory in this match one way or another. Selma's quickly moving in to try and open things up towards the bar angle for themselves. They'll establish that very, very quickly here. That is also going to scare away some of the presence from the hallway. Astralis very much playing around that primary bookcase N90 hallway, though, as the main point of their defense. So if Oxygen can either get access to that or breach the setup in some way, shape, or form, then they're going to be in a very good position to take final control. Oh, a big hop from Forrest, and it's not going to be caught. Foxy doesn't take a single bullet out of that encounter. Instead, he returns it all and eliminates one of the big stars of Astralis here, putting them down 4v5 on a round they very much could not afford to be in this position in.
Forrest like a comet heading out of the 90 window, but immediately fizzles out. And if that's the way that Astralis goes out the last stage of the year, definitely going to be something that they'll look back on and wonder exactly what the moment could have called for, what they could have done different, but that doesn't mean that they don't have an opportunity as of now. Be able to at least slow down Oxygen from pushing up main stairs. OXG have grinded to a halt. They do not want to make a mistake. They have Vertical back on the Jackal. That'll definitely assist them in trying to get some extra info and force these people out of their hidey holes. Some nice shots from DP Fire, but he's body blocked by Iconic, and they both go down to the gun of Vertical. J90 and Shuttle. There's so much time remaining for Oxygen to get this done. J90 hoping, praying that they swing in on the 90 window. Sweater decimates Shuttle. It's a 1 versus 5. J90, is he going to die to the red player? Oh, he's got the shot onto Vertical, but that's going to give up his positioning. Some nice crosses being held now. This would be the highlight of J90's career here if he's able to force this overtime. Dream is going to force us into overtime inside of the round with the case going down. It's going to knock us to 40 seconds here. J90 still has a kunai available to him, but he doesn't have the shot. Sweater takes him down, and Oxygen punch their ticket to the 6 Invitational. They prevent Astralis from going to Sweden, and Mirage, for the very first time in NAL history, will be taking an international flight. It's a good day.